There was breaking news in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The judge in the case has just warned Combs and his legal team that the music mogul could be removed from the courtroom after Combs was seen vigorously nodding his head in the direction of jurors during witness testimony. Defense attorney Misty Marris is live just outside the courthouse where this moment just took place. Misty, I wonder if you could describe the significance of this move by the judge. I mean, one, how unusual is it? But two, what effect might it have on the defense, on the trial?
Right, Jim, it's very significant. And in fact, it is the most extreme course of action and curative action to remove the defendant from the courtroom. So there's a federal rule on this issue, and it says that if a defendant is disruptive in the courtroom after being warned, then one of the curative things that can happen is to actually remove the defendant from the courtroom if that conduct persists. So here, now we're hearing the warning. And again, in the commentary from the judge, with directing at the defense team, he said, did I not make this loud and clear before, that this disruptive conduct cannot continue? And if it does continue, then we may seek to remove him from the courtroom. Now, the reason that this is so significant is that a defendant has the right to face their accusers. So it is truly the most extreme form of action that the judge will take. And the reason to do it is not really because the defendant is looking engaged, passing notes to their attorney, the other things that we've seen Combs do during the course of this trial. It's really when it comes down to any interaction with the jury, that there is some way that he is trying to influence or intimidate those jurors. And so the nodding of the head directly at the jurors during the testimony was a bridge too far for this judge, and now the warning is out there, and the next step could be removal, which would be pretty devastating to the defense.
And I do want to ask you about that, Misty, as a defense attorney. Walk us through just how impactful that is if you have a client that isn't sitting there while all of this testimony is being heard about them, about their alleged actions.
It's absolutely impactful for so many reasons. First, if the defendant were to be removed in any case, and in this case in particular, you would automatically have a significant appellate issue about whether or not that was the appropriate way to handle the situation. So that's one piece of it. And you're thinking about any appellate issues from the defense perspective. But from an optics perspective, if your client is not in the room during the trial, the jury will absolutely notice. And that could potentially be prejudicial to the defense of the case. And when we're talking about the severity of the charges here, although that's not really a factor in making this type of determination, in any case, that defendant has the right to be there. But from the optics perspective and the jury looking at an empty defense table, it is likely that they will look at that negatively. And there will be question marks that will never be explained to them as to the why. So from a defense perspective, it would be a catastrophe. And so my guess is that there's going to be a harsh conversation behind the scenes with the defense team about keeping the conduct in line.
Yeah, you want to be in chambers for that conversation. Imagine the back and forth. Prior to that, as we understand it, the witness was a friend of Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, Brianna Bongolan. You said that interaction did not go well for her. Tell us why.
It did not go well for the prosecution, and here's what always happens in trials, right? You get a defense loss when we're talking about Combs potentially being removed, but then you also get wins. So her cross-examination really exploited some significant credibility issues to the point where I don't even understand why prosecutors put her on the stand, because her story really relates to what we'll call the balcony incident, that she's dangled off a balcony. Well, the defense was able to very effectively challenge her timeline and say, when you sent a picture of the injury that you got from this incident, Combs was actually on the East Coast, checked into a hotel, doing a concert in Newark, New Jersey. And so that really put a whole question mark over her testimony. Prosecutors wanted that in because they say it shows force, fraud, and coercion, that Cassie sees this conduct and sees that his violence and how far he will go. It feeds into that argument. I think prosecutors wanted it in because it's very mobbish, it's very Tony Soprano to dangle somebody over the balcony. But due to these credibility issues, it was something that really really came off as a problem for prosecutors. And the jury may look at this other prosecution witnesses and say, can I really believe what they said as well? So that was a win for the defense.
All right, some big developments coming out of that courthouse today. Misty Marris, thank you so much for walking us through some of it. We appreciate it.